Welcome to Rising from the Rubble, the podcast where we share real life stories of people who have faced life-changing events like burnout, redundancy, and depression, and found a way to rise stronger than before. I'm your host, Maria Newman, and as a coach, I help individuals navigate life's toughest transitions. Whilst listening to this podcast, you'll hear inspiring stories and coaching insights that will empower you to reclaim your confidence, redefine your future, and rise from your own rubble. It's now time to sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to our episode. Hello, Iain, and thank you for joining me today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for asking me, Maria.
Oh, you're most welcome. So, what makes your story meaningful to others?
I think because life doesn't end when you reach retirement.
And who will benefit the most from hearing your story?
People who want to live a healthier and more rewarding life in retirement.
And finally, what's the most important takeaway from your experience?
This part of my life is so fulfilling and enjoyable.
Love it. So based on that, Iain, who are you and what is your story?
Okay, I'm a baby boomer. I was born in 1948 and I'm one of the very first babies born under the NHS. I'm not saying that because it's anything other than it gives people an idea, because they'll then probably try and work out how old is the NHS. My parents met during World War II and got married at the end of it, and my father was born in the East End of London. My mother was born up in Greenock in Scotland. He was in the Navy. There is a story there, but I won't go into it in any great depth. And they got married in 1945. I'm an only son, only child. I was born in 48, and they then bought a house in Woodford. So I was educated through the normal system of going to local primary, junior school, then on to secondary school. And at the age of 16, I was very graciously shown the door and started in the world of work. So very few people today that I come across who say, oh, well, I left school without qualifications. I did leave school without qualifications. That was partly down to me because I probably didn't work hard enough, but it was also down to the fact that the most enjoyable days of your life, not for me. I didn't enjoy secondary education at all, and at the age of 16, when I walked out the school gates for the last time, I was a very happy person. Initially, I started work in London because it was just down the road, and recalling one of the great diarists who said, those who haven't worked in London or lived in London haven't lived life. There's a bit of truth, it's a bit of paraphrase, but there's a bit of truth in that, because it really was at the time a fabulous city. It still is one, but it's grown, it's gone far more cosmopolitan, and the real Londoners that I knew have been far dissipated out to Essex and other parts of the suburbs. I worked in offices. First job, go and make the tea. I passed with flying colours because I got asked to do it again. At least that was my excuse. I moved on in life, but wasn't totally happy with what was happening, and ended up in sales. And partly the reason I ended up in sales was because my father was in sales, and I thought, he seems happy doing what he's doing. I'll go down his route. I enjoyed it. I worked hard. I built relationships, which I think is hugely important. And I went from a few companies, and at life I thought was going quite okay. I was grafting, I was being successful until 1988. I went for the annual review, and I walked into the room, and instead of myself and one director, there was myself and two directors. And the first thing that went through my mind was, this doesn't look good. 30 seconds later, I was out of work. Um, they couldn't do anything actually to dismiss me. So they'd gone behind my back to ACAS, agreed a payoff settlement with ACAS, and that was me. I was getting the money. Um, I've since been told by other people who've heard the story that that could not happen today. Um, and life throws you curveballs, as that was, but it also opens doors. It had gone through my mind, go and be self-employed. I don't know why. I just thought I'm a better salesman than the average man they're employing here. So I set up on my own. But I set up on my own selling that company's products as a third party agent. So instead of the company going direct to the customer, I was stepping in and saying to the customer, why don't you come to me? I will give you better service than the manufacturer. Um, and a lot of them didn't understand that, but they obviously liked what I said. And then the company didn't like it, but they thought, well, we're getting business, otherwise we might lose. And so from 1989 to, I guess, 2014, I was a self-employed salesman working for myself. I didn't employ anybody because, quite frankly, I didn't believe anyone was good enough to reach my continuing standards. And that was what I saw of other people. They probably were, but I just thought, no, I want to do it my way. Um, Life, another curveball. Daughter got married in 2007, and then she emigrated to United States in about 2013. Um, Grandson was born in 2011, which was also the time I had a hip replacement. Um, the downside of that was it took me away from mainline business for a short period of time, but it also meant I needed to rethink and have new ideas about what we're going to do. Officially, I was retired, I was getting a pension, and Anne and I were sitting down talking, what are we going to do? And then she found network marketing. I'd also come across it, but I thought this is a bit like Marmite. I'm not sure. I don't like Marmite, and I'm not sure if I like network marketing. But I'd say to anyone, if you're ever thrown an opportunity at all in life, explore it. I was once asked, would I like to be a JP? And I said, my first response was, no, I haven't got time to go and be a JP, and you don't get paid, do you? And I came up with every reason not to be.
Just
How
for
I
clarity, JP being Justice
Justice of
of
the
the
Peace,
Peace.
local courts. I so regret not at least looking into the feasibility. But I hadn't done personal development then, so it was rather than respond, I immediately replied, no. Today I stop and think, don't reply, just respond once you almost do the count of five. And since then, Anne and I have worked as a team and we built a business and we love what we're doing. And network marketing is absolutely a fabulous, fabulous type of outlet for people because it doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to have qualifications, degrees, or become parts of special groups or institutions. You can just go and work and build a business. And then other things happen in life. My parents never kept diaries. I didn't keep one, but my wife's family, always wrote diaries. And I started making notes of what happened in life because I thought if something happened to me, when I die, all the memories go with me. So I wrote a book. And I have to say, if only I knew then what I know now, it would be totally different. And I was quite pleased. And then, of course, you get asked the question, well, you've written one, are you going to write another? And I thought, don't be daft. But it's amazing what a couple of glasses of red wine can do. And so I blindly said to someone, yes, I'm going to write a novel. I had no idea how to do it, but it seemed like plenty of people write them. So it seemed like a good idea at the time. So here we are now. Um, less than, I'd say, about 4 to 5 months from publication of my first 100,000 word novel. Um, it's I met a lady online who is doing the editing and mentoring me, and all the marketing is being done by another lady who's also a circle member, who you've interviewed on your podcast.
Ah, the networking is amazing. It connects you with lots of people. So you've told us a lot about what's happened in your life, Iain. I want to take you back, first of all, to that moment in 1988, was it you said, when you walked into the office thinking this is your annual appraisal and you were met by two directors? Because your situation, although it was in the 80s, people often find themselves in a situation where they'll walk into a room thinking everything's hunky dory, to then be taken by surprise and for someone to tell them life's not going to go in the direction that you think it's going to go. Can you share with us, how did you feel in that moment when you got told that your employment was going to be ended?
I think I just felt numb. And then the phrase of why me, then why now, then went through my mind is, what have I done to deserve this? And I didn't ask the questions because what they wanted to do was control it. Um, yes, they're sorry. Well, they said they were. Then it was, do you want to make any phone calls? Then it was, we'll take you to the station and pay your train fare home. And by this time, I had gathered most of my thoughts, and it was, no, you're not having the car. I'm going to fight to hold it because I'm going to need a car. And it was all other things like that. And then in the cold light of day, once I got home, I talked with Anne, and a few days later, an ACAS talked to me about it all. And I just thought, I'm going to get back at you, but I want to get back in the right way. I don't want people to say, oh, you work for X company, don't you? And me to just give a lot of abuse about them because I wanted to turn this to my advantage. And having got together a group of other products that I could sell, and I'm a foodie, I love food. If you catch me eating in a restaurant, there's every likelihood you'll catch me with a phone taking photographs of food, analysing menus, all this sorts of things. Well, these were food producers that I was focusing on, and I thought I can do this job and get more business out of food producers, not just for you, but for a lot of other businesses than you can yourself, because they had what I would have termed then, and probably still do now, they had milk round salesmen. I knew they were milk round salesmen. They were in my team. I was a sales manager. Um, and I also realised not too long afterwards, I was being micromanaged. But I didn't want my negative emotions to take over. I had to remain positive because there was a mortgage to pay. There was food to be put on the table. Yes, Anne was working, but we still had to live life. And on that, with regarding to Anne, I think it made us stronger because we talked through everything. And I got a job initially in a salaried position as a salesman. And it was Anne who one day, a few months later, said, why don't you go self-employed? You don't like what you're doing. I can tell it in your body language. And there was me saying, I want to go self-employed, but I don't want to tell her in case it sets off that chasm of, but well, hold on, what about the money? What about, sometimes we need the ones we love to actually step up to the plate and say, why don't you?
So, was that the turning point for you, or in your mind, had it happened sooner where you thought, okay, then this has happened? I can either go along thinking life's no good anymore, or I can make a change myself?
I've never been one to sit in the corner and say, "Oh well, that's it. Why me?" But when you know you've got the backing of your partner, your lover, your confidant, the person who um, is your crutch in that situation, then you can actually go, "Great." Then I can say, "This is what I've been doing." It may have been then, "Well, why did you tell me?" Because I didn't want to present you with a fait accompli. I wanted you on side. And with Anne on side, life was so much simpler.
Life is always simpler, like you said earlier, when you have the backing of people, as opposed to you and I know that being in business can be a very lonely place. And therefore, when you've got supportive people around you, it's not as lonely, and the challenging times are more easy to face.
They are. And if we roll the ball forward from 1989 to the year 2000, Anne was on long term leave for, if I say in inverted commas, depression. I didn't think she was depressed, but she worked for the NHS, and like so many people in the NHS, it can be all consuming. And it got to the year 2000, and we were sat talking, and I just sort of said, "Well, people make money as consultants and do X, Y, and Z. Why don't you do it?" And I got the, "No, no, no, the NHS doesn't have that sort of money to pay me as a consultant, etc., etc." Months later, she came home and said, "I'm going to give up working with the NHS. Can I go self-employed?" And I said, "Go for it. Just do it, you know." And let me put one thing over first of all. Self-employed people work very long hours. Self-employed people aren't all millionaires, but they do have one thing that employed people don't have. I have yet to meet a self-employed person who says, "Oh God, it's Monday morning. I can't wait for Friday evening." Or, "Oh God, it's Friday evening. I'm going to dread Monday morning." They usually love what they do and they love their lifestyle.
That's so well put, Ian, because I'm obviously nodding because I am a self employed person. And you are so right that Monday is not a dreaded day, and Friday is not a day where I breathe a sigh of relief because I've completed Monday to Friday.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And as I said before we started, I've just come back from 3 weeks in France. That wasn't 3 weeks of not doing any work, but it was 3 weeks of, "Oh, it's raining today, we're indoors, we can catch up on bits and pieces." I was catching up on editing for the book and was catching up on replies to her Facebook page. So we do little bits and pieces just to keep the ball rolling. Because the one thing we have learned is if you're self employed, just do a little bit every day to touch your business. It may only be answering a couple of emails. It may only be, "Oh, well, I've got a new post. I'll just put it up. It takes 5 minutes." Nobody objects to that. It's when I need to spend an hour or a couple of hours self employed. I am on holiday, but there's work to be done. That's when it can take over your life.
Yeah. And there is this balance, isn't there, to be had where in the conversations that I've had with business owners who have had a corporate career, or should I say, have been employed, there is this mindset shift that has to happen because otherwise you take the habits and the ethos that you had when you were working for someone else into your business, which means that you're not necessarily going to be running your business A in the right way, and B having the lifestyle that you want to have so that your business flourishes.
I agree. Here again, going back to what I know now as to what was reality back in 1990, uh, I, and in some cases Anne, did everything for me when we started the business. So that meant taking the orders, placing the orders, paying suppliers, issuing invoices, collecting money, doing the whole lot, doing any marketing ourselves. Now There are so many specialists out there that if I was starting again, I would actually say, what am I good at? Let's focus on that. So if I can spend that extra half hour or an hour a week being very good at doing something, that means I can afford to employ part-time or pay on an hourly basis a secretary, a bookkeeper, a marketing person to do that bit for me. So going back to the book, I have two ladies who do work for me, which leaves me to focus on the writing, the thinking, the absurdities, the whatever you want to call it. Because sometimes when I've spoken to Anne and said, I've written this scenario, she said, where on earth did that come from? I said, I don't know, but I've had time. I write it down. I mean, sometimes I get lost in my world. So if you sat with me in a restaurant, I might be happily chatting to you, and you're thinking, he's not really focusing on me. I'll throw him a curveball. And I might say, oh, sorry, what was that? I was possibly watching someone at another table, and it could have been hand gestures, it could have been looks, it could have been something that makes me think, I could do that. I could use that in a scenario in a book or in a story. So, I haven't got to worry about the marketing, all the other bits that go to as a business, because I'm enjoying myself, but I'm also noticing other things that are happening around me.
So what that says to me, Ian, is that if ever I'm having a conversation with you in person, I need to be very careful that you're actually present and you're not doing research for your book.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Or it might be on the at the end, I say, Maria, did you notice the group on that table over there? And you may say, yes, so 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 so. I said, fantastic, you're backing up what I thought. It's it's rather like um, do you get out and about and have to go to the school gates or just when you're going shopping? When you're shopping going around a supermarket and you're putting stuff off the shelf, you're looking at shopping lists, you're looking around you. Watch people's actions. What's happening. From the mother with the child who's, yes, of course you can have that. Yes, life's been good today. Happily chatting away till you turn the corner into the next aisle and World War III is breaking out. It's life is all around us. The thing is, what we tend to be plugged in or focused on that little screen we call a mobile phone. And so we miss it all.
We do, we do. So I'm going to take you back to that moment because it seems to be like the biggest turning point where you've exited the office with the two directors who were in your company. How do you now view that moment in time?
I I feel rather sad for them and the company. I've grown through personal development and I've realized how quite narrow they were and the way the company was run. But I think what turned me against it more than anything was that they always sent out missives about things, people, and happening in business. And they sent one out that obviously was never supposed to get to me. But another manager, and in fact it was one of two, who contacted me and said, "You know the wrong person's gone." And I'm thinking, yeah, who should have gone? And they both said the director should have gone. Um, but one of them sent a missive to me, and it started. Uh, we are advising you that Iain Girling has tendered his resignation. And I thought, you can't even tell the truth. That hurt. I work for people who would just distort the truth for their own gains or their own ends. But it's history now. I can't I remember it, but I can't sit down and go, oh, I remember the day when I need to, and I have moved on. And I know I'm a bigger, better person that can communicate than I was then. If that sounds big headed, I'm sorry, But if I don't sing my own praises, there's not a lot of other people that are going to do it for me.
I always say to people, we have to be our own cheerleaders first. Everybody else who's in our corner will magnify that. However, we've got to be our own cheerleaders first.
Without a doubt. And not everyone's going to appreciate us as we are, or they may not want to. But I think self-employed people do one thing really, really well. They greet, encourage, uplift, and generally say, come on, who do you want to talk to? How can I help you? Who are your tribe?
If you find the right group, you are surrounded by not just people who get it, but people who will turn into your friends.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are coming towards the end of our podcast today. However, I do have two really important questions to ask you. The first one is, what 3 things do you want people to take away from this conversation?
Ooh. I think, let me go with the first one, as I am now. Retirement doesn't mean stopping. Being healthy is a lifetime decision, and I haven't let my health hamper me. And I can't remember who actually first said this, but it's a phrase that really is worth remembering. Yesterday is history, today is a gift, and tomorrow is mystery. Have I got that right? Yes. Yesterday is history, today is a gift, tomorrow is a mystery. I think those are 3 things.
And on that note, people will have had an excellent time listening to us and hearing about your journey, and will want to connect with you. So make it easy. How can people connect with you?
IainGirling.com or Iain@IainGirling.com, or I will happily send to you my Facebook and LinkedIn tags, and I'd be delighted, Maria, if you'll put them up when you put up the podcast.
Yeah, we will. So on that note, that just leaves me to say thank you very much, Iain, for being so honest with us and sharing your story today.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope if one person says, hey, that's inspired me, it's worth it.
And thank you everybody for listening and watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Rising from the Rubble. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Also, remember to download your free life assessment. Just click the link in the description to get started. Take care, and remember, every setback is an opportunity for growth. I'll see you next time.